Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence can feel? The empty pause in a conversation, the quiet of an empty room, or the vast stillness of space itself. We often rush to fill that silence with noise, with movement, with thought. But what if hidden inside that nothingness was not emptiness at all, but the very foundation of our existence? What if silence, absence, and void weren't something to fear, but something to embrace? Today, we're exploring the strange, unsettling, and liberating power of nothingness. For centuries, philosophers have wrestled with the meaning of the void. In the West, thinkers like Heidegger and Sartre suggested that nothingness forces us to confront the fragile nature of being. Without the awareness of nothingness, they argued, we wouldn't grasp what it truly means to exist. Meanwhile, in the East, the idea of emptiness, or shunyata in Buddhism, takes a different form. Instead of framing nothingness as a threat, it's seen as liberation. To experience emptiness is to see reality clearly, without illusions, without clinging to identities or desires that weigh us down. Two traditions, two very different languages, yet both point to the same haunting idea. Nothingness is inseparable from life itself. Think about the night sky. What fascinates us isn't only the stars, but the infinite black canvas surrounding them. That darkness, that absence, gives the stars their meaning. In the same way, our lives are framed by absence, the silence between words, the breath between thoughts. The awareness of death makes each moment more alive. Without nothingness, being itself would lose its depth. Still, most of us resist the void. We treat it like a threat. We drown it out with distractions, endless scrolling, constant music, busy schedules, anything to avoid sitting in stillness. Why? Because silence and emptiness can feel like a mirror. In those quiet moments, we come face to face with the questions we'd rather ignore. Am I living authentically? Am I running from myself? What really matters in the short span of life I've been given? That's uncomfortable, but it's also exactly where growth begins. Consider how every act of creation begins. A blank canvas, an empty page, a quiet mind. The musician listens before striking the first note. The painter stares into white space before the first stroke. The writer sits with a blinking cursor before the first word. Nothingness is the birthplace of everything. Even physics, in its own way, hints at this. Some theories suggest that the universe itself may have emerged from a state of nothingness, a quantum fluctuation, a ripple in the void. What looks like nothing may actually be the richest ground for possibility. And perhaps this is the real lesson. Nothingness isn't only about endings, but beginnings. It clears space. It wipes the slate. It gives us room to breathe, to notice, to start again. Think about meditation. At its core, it's not about doing more, but less. Quieting the noise, letting thoughts drift away, returning to the emptiness of breath. In that stillness, we often discover a strange fullness, awareness itself, presence, a clarity that can't be reached in constant motion. The more we sit with nothingness, the more we begin to see its quiet gifts. It humbles us. It reminds us that everything we cling to, our possessions, our titles, even our identities, are fleeting. And yet, that fragility is what makes them beautiful. Imagine life without death. Would love mean as much if time never ran out? Would we savor sunsets if we thought there would be infinite tomorrows? Would a moment with someone dear carry weight if we didn't know one day it would end? Nothingness sharpens the edges of being. It is precisely because things fall away that they shine while they last. But here's the paradox. While we often fear nothingness, when we lean into it, we discover it's not empty at all. It's alive with potential. It's the silence that makes music possible, the pause that gives language rhythm, the stillness that lets us see clearly. And if we allow it, it can transform us. The next time you feel restless in quiet, resist the urge to escape. Instead, stay there. Notice how the silence isn't blank, it's charged. Notice how absence can open into awareness. Notice how nothingness, rather than being the end, becomes the space from which life itself emerges. Philosophy often asks the questions that unsettle us, but those questions also open doors. To think about nothingness is not to stare into despair. It's to recognize the hidden ground of our existence, the backdrop against which meaning, beauty, and love unfold. So maybe the invitation is simple. Stop running from silence. Step into it. Let it change the way you see. Because nothingness isn't the opposite of life. It's the quiet stage on which life finally begins to speak. So, what will you hear in your silence?